Hey, my name is Dr. Fasil Mohammed, and I'm in the process of explaining what playology is, and I'd like you to not judge my appearance and not do what you've done and celebrate my downfall and laughed and celebrated. Instead, I want you to go back when I paid your rent, bought your kids' school clothes, fed all of you, saved all the babies. You never respected me, and you never loved me, but you loved what I could do for you. It's okay, I embrace it, but my goal was to show you that the system is broken and that people are different and we can learn in different ways. So if you can just relax and just play with me for a little while, it's a story, like a movie. And I want you to just get a pen and a piece of paper and write down each name that you hear and just follow the story as it goes along because it's also a challenge. I want you to assume that you know a couple things. One, chapter 55, Surah Al-Rahman by Omar Hisham Al-Arabi, and it's on YouTube. Just look at that video. Next thing, Redemption Song by Bob Marley. There's a video on YouTube. And then the third is the challenge. And I want you, after this, every day to seek knowledge based on what I said, to answer the questions in the song Patience, Savali, by Junior Gong, Damian Marley, and Nas. So let's pretend for a second that you are a time traveler and you've landed on Earth, and this time, location, and place that you're in. You've had a little fun, and I'm going to demonstrate playology to you as a way of gaining knowledge. The goal is knowledge of self. You are nothing, just a human and an animal, and you are metaquantum, and we've discussed metaquantum is being in submission to the forces of the earth, the sun, the moon, the stars, the animals, the plants. And that's all you know, is that you're just one other animal. Okay? You have existed as a time traveler since the onset of your existence. You were a Viking first, and you were a warrior, and you were brave in battle, and you were blessed in battle to meet Odin, the one-eyed god. And you were so blessed that he sent you to Valhalla, the second heaven. The second heaven is a traveling ship in space, and that is your time traveling ship. For me, that ship is in the sky, and I see it every night, and you can see it every night. It's Orion, and you can see his feet, his belt, his shoulders, his head, his weapon, his arms. Every night, I want you to go back up, study Orion. See him as your ship. Take all the knowledge you gain every day from this experiment and go and study on your ship. Lay outside, get barefoot if the weather's good, take your shirt off, walk, stay under Orion, and study what you learn. This life is a journey, and you decided that since you were a warrior in that first life and you were a Viking, you wanted to learn more about other warrior cultures. So you decided to travel to Japan to the time of the samurai. You studied Bushido, which is a Buddhism combined with the warrior faith of the samurai. And you met a man called Miyamoto Musashi and Hagakure. You gained their knowledge and studied their form. And you brought with you, everywhere you've gone, you're adding knowledge. And you brought with you on this journey the Book of Five Rings. While you were in Japan, you heard of another great warrior culture to the west. And you decided to jump on Orion, your ship, after studying for years, and I personally studied for 12 years, the samurai, to meet Sun Tzu. And you meet Sun Tzu where you encounter him, and you encounter the art of war. And you study it for 5 years, and you stay and learn, and now you have the Book of Five Rings, the philosophy and beliefs of the Vikings, and the art of war in your pocket. But while in China, in this ancient time, you discover something that shocks you and changes your world. And it's called the Tao Te Ching by Lao Tzu. And what it describes is a human on Earth experiencing Earth and the moon and the sun and the stars, hence metaquantum, a natural state. And you realize now that your purpose has changed from a warrior and a strategist to one of someone in submission and peace. You leave there and no longer are you a physical warrior, but a spiritual warrior. You come from Europe, you've been to Japan, you've been to China. The next time you decide you're going to explore another continent, you jump on Orion again, and you jump on a ship as a boy, 15 or 16, and you travel to Morocco on that ship from North Carolina. You're black and Native American, and you encounter the wisdom of Africa, and you meet an Egyptian priest who teaches you the knowledge of the world, which you bring back to America. You come back with a book called The Circle 7 Quran. So now you have the Tao Te Ching, the Art of War, the Book of Five Rings, and the Circle 7 Quran. Your name is Drobujur Ali. At the time of his murder, this is also a story, but this is also a biopic because I've lived all of this and I'm trying to explain to you who I am, what I've done, and my purpose. At the time of his death, murder, the FBI had 1,377 pages on him. You keep this hidden knowledge and you realize that while you were in Africa, you heard of the greatest civilization to have ever existed, the Kingdom of Mali, in the time of Mansa Musa, with the University of Timbuktu that gathered all the knowledge of the world. And you realize in the story that Mansa Musa was worth $400 billion in gold, which is now gone. Your quest now in this adventure is to find Mansa Musa's gold. Now you know that Mansa Musa sent before Columbus, and it's, the Olmecs were here, there's been lots of travel way before, 1,000 ships west. In that, the searchers did the gold go in those 1,000 ships that he sent west. Now, I want you to take that and realize that Mansa Musa's ships were symbolic of free men from his culture with all the knowledge that they possessed that came west with an amazing belief system, strategy, and a way to change the world. They implanted themselves in the Caribbean, Trinidad, Dominica, Jamaica, and on the east coast of America. What if, hypothetically, that knowledge still exists, and that knowledge is here with us in oral tradition and exists in the form of music? So now you have time traveled from the Viking era to the Japanese, to the Chinese, to Africa, and you land at my home in Lumberton. And this was my project, which I did at the pavilion, was what if aliens landed? How would they know about us? They would find devices that had all our pictures and notes and books on it. Those would be dead if our civilization ended, and we would have nothing to show. So my story was for the next time traveler or alien that lands to tell them the story of us. And my story is that this message lives on in all of us, but we can approach it innately by experiencing metaquantum, but we don't have to go through this process that I have done. You can gain from the knowledge of others, hence the ancestors, So I described to you that each outfit was Che Guevara, Malcolm X, Aristotle, Machiavelli. We walk around and I explain each of their philosophies and teachings. And then I say to you that I have a secret, that the continuation of Noble Drew ends up with a man called Clarence 13X. And he comes up with the philosophy of the 5%ers. And that there are 5% of people that seek knowledge and that have the ability to help the 85% of followers. Now, what I want you to see is that we can, without judgment, look at it and say, I have studied in Dominica, the forest and the ocean, and embraced this philosophy there. Swam with the manta rays, studied the animals, went to St. Lucia, studied medicine and the sharks. And I came with the medicine of Abyssinia, and I practiced it for 20 years. And what you saw was historically true, because Abyssinia's medicine is what was taught to the West. What I'm saying to you is what we've lost is the ability, which he taught us, is to take a history. I'm saying to you, if you now take just the books that I mentioned, Tao Te Ching, Art of War, Circle 7, Quran, and I tell you, hey, I took this epic journey and I decided to do an experiment because of COVID. And I rode my bike 400 miles in 4 days in the heat of North Carolina. I lifted weights for 2 hours and prayed and worshiped and studied. And then I ended up in a psych ward because no one took a history and realized that what I did was valid scientifically and physiologically. And that I was in trouble because I was extremely hungry after this experiment. But I went in that psych ward, I submitted. And when I submitted, I baptized myself and I traveled again. And I remembered in the second heaven lives Jesus and John the Baptist. And I embraced them and their teachings. But the only revelation I got was the number 22. That number stuck with me for the next 6 months to a year until I was in the NICU. And then I decided I would search because of the babies and they couldn't talk. And then I said, Jesus, and I had a book that I bought called The Bird Way by Ackerman, and I turned to page 22, and then I read it, then I turned it and it said talk. So I saw Jesus talked, babies 22 on Google. And what came up was the Gospel of Thomas, verse 22. And I'm saying to you as the next time traveler that there's a hidden message, and I'm not saying it's Jesus Christ like you believe. I'm just saying it's attributed to him, and it was taught to him by John the Baptist, and that was the revelation that I got. From it, I want you now to arm yourself with the Gospel of Thomas, and I want you to take the knowledge that you can read about from the Tao Te Ching, the Book of Five Rings, Art of War, Circle 7 Quran, the Empire of Mansa Musa in Mali, and realize that maybe the gold they took is the fool's gold, and the real gold, as Clarence 13X describes it, as the black man is the astral twin of the sun. And maybe we are the gold. Our physical bodies is the real gold, and our knowledge. So what I did was explain to you each outfit, each Scholar Newton, everyone and say, hey, this is all the knowledge, but I want you to go back to the start and chapter 55, Umar Hisham al-Rani, assume that's all you know. Then, to learn what happened to the world, I want you to play Redemption Song by Bob Marley. And then you will realize what happened from that point of creation to the Redemption Song. And then know that this tradition has been preserved, and it's a challenge that I took up, and this was the project of listening to the song Patience Savali. And don't approach this as music and entertainment. This is philosophy. No, this is a challenge. So now you take it, that song, and you make a path to solve it. So every day, just listen to these 3 songs, and then search the world and find an answer. What I'm saying to you is that I found what is my truth in that I have found 5 men that I think have this message. They are men from the Caribbean and on the East Coast that have continued. The problem is everyone with the message continues to get killed because of guns. So each time there's someone that rises, they get killed. They get killed. And your job is to solve this and help humanity and not get killed. My job is a physician, and I wanted to let you know that Mansa Musa's gold may be the red, green, and gold of the Caribbean, and I went ahead and put gold on this outfit because one of the men is T.I., Breaking All Rules, the Hustle Gang, the Noble Beard, with the glasses on. So, go and study the beer. Right? And assume one thing that is the message that I want you to know is that you started off as a warrior. Okay? And this is the message that I've spread is unless a warrior is detached from life and death, he is useless. So when I saw that this was broken, I sat with my thoughts, like Nas said, and decided it was time to put my mind together to come up with a solution for why is it that the doctors and nurses are charting, but we're not touching the patients, and we're not taking a history to see what they've done. I now have transformed into a man called Abu Dar, and I want you to now study him as well. And his story, because the Prophet Muhammad describes him as the man who will live alone, walk alone, and enter paradise alone. But they don't realize he was the man that taught the Prophet the true message of Islam, which is peace. He said salams. So, I'm saying to you, I've approached the world with peace and love, stayed in study so that I may solve these problems. And guess what I did? Things like go pick up trash, dressed like this. I was IBC. I did this experiment and described what I was going to do and said, hey, what if the next time traveler or alien lands, how would they know about the history of the world if everyone is dead and all they see are Nike signs, Lexus tags? They would say all these people had all these gods because that's all they have to show. No books, no writings, no knowledge. In my conclusion, I've found that this knowledge and this way exists, and I believe in my heart that there are men that still preserve it, and I'd like you to study the works and the message of Nas and Damian Marley and Bob Marley, and then embrace the concept of livity, which is the force. And we showed in the video that Allah is the force. And then take these books that I mentioned and now study the Gospel of Thomas and see if you can't come up with a solution to the questions. So the experiment is you're going to pretend that you're playing this game with me and it's a simulation or a movie. Maybe I'm a method actor and I can morph my personality. No, I don't morph, I don't fake. But what I do is I embody. So when I'm like this, I'm Abu Dar. But what I have on my feet, Sniper Gang. Sniper Gang is to remind me that I'm an alien. He's the gremlin. You see the heart? It's broken. Love kills. Time to stop the love and the hate. Time to be in action. And I want you to realize and just look back, and then you'll come to greater wisdoms than you would ever know, that Muslims and Christians await Jesus. It's simple, it's the same philosophy, the same teachings. So now go to the songs and I'll list them. Active by T.I. and Kevin Gates. I want you to now take a couple albums and I tell you, hey, when I was in Dominica and I studied this, I brought 2 albums. Untold Story by Buju Banton, so also study that. And then The Black Star by Mos Def, Yassine Bey, and Talib Kweli. And assume everything that I've said to you during this time is all the knowledge of the world and the knowledge that can change the world. And I'm saying to you that medicine is broken. Physicians and practitioners are unskilled. We're caught up on devices while we work on our phones. We're caught up on devices while we chart, and that is medicine now. It is about labels and medication and not taking an actual history and physical and deciphering what the story actually is. Maybe if you actually talked to the patients and listened to the explanations, you could understand what they're going through. Just maybe we all have up moods, or I call up phase, and down phase. Up phase is for exploration and learning. Down phase is time for study and music to bring us back up. So pretend for a second that I'm still good, that I'm the Dr. Muhammad you know, the father you know, that I didn't do this experiment where I rode the bike and got labeled with bipolar, even though My psychiatrist had labeled me with ADHD, and I was on meds for that until the psychiatrist stopped it and I was compliant. And I'd been off the ADHD meds for 5 years. No history was taken. They didn't care. I'm saying we need to bring back physicians that care. And everyone that knows me see the medicine that I've practiced and see my quest now to fix a broken system.